What's up, everybody? Welcome back to the DK Garage. I'm Jeremy, that's Joe, and this is a special championship race day rundown.
We're excited to wrap up the season. It's at Phoenix, and everything's came down to this final race. We're down to the final four. We'll talk about them, but before we do, if you want to get in on the action, drop your DraftKings tag below, and we'll invite you to the final contest of the season. This is it. What are you ready to do for the win? We'll find out who really walks away with it and who really has a huge impact on it. I'm excited, Jeremy.
This is what we've been waiting for. It's been a great story all year. A lot of great action, unpredictable action, some surprises. Honestly, a little bit more rivalries kind of brewing in the playoffs. So we'll see if that has any sort of effect on this race. We've seen already some of these non-playoff drivers in prior Cup races and in the lower series not give the championship drivers quite as much room. That makes me a little bit nervous going into this race, but we might as well set it up for everyone. This is a 1 mile track. There are 312 laps, and that means there are 218.4 performance points available. So we do have to, if we're going to be playing the DraftKings side of it, we got to factor in dominators, likely 2. Possibly 3, but we're used to seeing about 2 there. Stages are going to be 75, 115, and 122. No comp caution because they did qualify. And I'll go ahead and spoil it just a little bit. Kyle Larson picked up the pole, but Martin Truex was a previous winner here in the spring. So what are your early thoughts going into this Phoenix race? Because it's going to be a good one.
Well, we got more of a traditional weekend with practice and qualifying. We got to take in all the other series action. We're here late on Saturday night before everything gets underway, so we're going to really try to get this out quick and give you as much information as we can to help you prepare, but we want to bring the most value for you across the platforms that are available to us. And looking at it, Kyle Larson obviously is number one driver across the boards everywhere you look. Good reason.
9
Won
wins.
a lot of races. He's been looks like the champ throughout the season. I expect no less of him this week. He obviously qualified really well. Man, it's really hard not to want to play him. I think in any situation, you really want to look his way. But DraftKings, you can feel pretty confident. I'm there at a 9 with my impact score. What are your thoughts on Larson?
Yeah, Kyle Larson, he is the most expensive on the driver on the slate for DraftKings. I will be at a 9.5 on him, but just kind of taking a step back and analyzing this championship 4 compared to some of the other championship 4 drivers, it seems like there's usually 3 where you're like, okay, and then 1 that you're like, good for you for being there, you know. That driver happened to be Joey Logano a couple of years ago, and he won it, so that doesn't always mean anything. But, man, I really feel like this might be the tightest and hardest to predict winner, because I think the championship driver will end up winning this race. It could go to a non-playoff driver, but I'm pretty sure. That doesn't usually happen in the Cup Series. But there's so many different ways to look at, okay, Larson, best driver all year, hands down. Not that great at Phoenix earlier in the year. And good, but not as good as some of the other drivers on this kind of style of track. Hamlin, great here. Great on this style of track. Second best driver all year. Could easily take out Larson. Elliott won last year. Truex won earlier this year at this track. Man, this is going to be absolutely fun to watch. I almost have every single playoff driver rated the same because I really don't know who's going to end up dominating or pulling this out, but it's hard to want to go against Kyle Larson at any point.
Yeah, and I've got Larson at the lowest rated out of all of my out of all 4 drivers just because of his price tag, and he really does need to dominate, and these other drivers are hungry. They're going to try to lead laps. They're going to be pushing the issue, and Larson's been in really situations where he's been comfortable pretty much the entire playoff stretch and most of the regular or into the regular season. So he hasn't had to fight for it as much as some of these drivers. So to me, he has the most to prove out of anybody here. So I'm looking for him to maybe stumble a little bit, and the other drivers all have more value potential with place differential. He has no upside on that side. A little bit difficult on a DraftKings standpoint.
Yeah, but the thing that Larson has, we already know that he's fast because they have practice and qualified. He earned that. Wasn't really that close. I mean, Chase Elliott was holding the pole for a long time, and he just laid down like almost a quarter second lap faster. He was blistering fast on his qualifying lap. With no comp caution, he could lead the first 75 laps of this race to the end of the stage. He doesn't have to win at that point from a DraftKings perspective, if that's where you're targeting him to pay off his price tag. That's going to be really good because he's still going to get some fastest laps even after that. So it's especially from DraftKings, I think this is a tough way to know how to play some of these playoff or the Championship 4 drivers. That's my opinion because we're basically the same on our scores. I have one driver rated lower than the other 3, and my lowest rated driver of the Championship 4 is Denny Hamlin. I understand the place differential, but he's only starting 6, so there's not a ton unless he does get first. If he's only going to end up being 4th or something like that, there's not a ton there. He has an amazing ability to get out front and lead laps here, so obviously he can pay it off that way. But if he doesn't, if it's Larson and Elliott or even Truex, that makes him a little more risky, so I'm at a 9 on Hamlin. But I think sounded like when we're kind of getting ready, it sounded like you were hinting that Hamlin might be your favorite here.
He could potentially be the one I find the most value with because Truex seems to be there with starting 12th and has a great potential for upside. But I think from some of the other angles that I'm looking at, you really could have a good upside potential with Denny Hamlin. He might go a little bit under-owned with Kyle Busch and Truex coming in. Really probably heavily more favored in the DraftKings setting. So I think you could really get some solid exposure because I anticipate him being able to be fast, lead laps. He's been really consistent in the 750 horsepower throughout the season. That's where we're at in that package again this week in this at this mile long track. So I'm excited to see if he comes out and really steps up to the plate, wants to show that he's not a hack and really has the potential that everybody knows he has to be a champion, and that really would solidify him going into the next season as a two-car owner with Michael Jordan. Really has a lot to tout at that point and carries a lot of weight within the entire sport. I don't know if it happens, but I think we'll see how it ultimately plays out.
I'm shocked. I'm absolutely shocked that after your championship pick got eliminated, you're going to go from Kyle Busch to Denny Hamlin. Like, dude, why are you even wearing a Chase Elliott hat? What are you thinking? I mean, you're going on Team Gibbs. I can't believe it.
I'm looking at information and data, and I think there's a lot more that lines up for for Denny Hamlin this week than Chase Elliott. Chase Elliott's been strong. We saw him win this setting last year. We'll get to him in a minute, but I think Denny Hamlin overall this year, this package and everything kind of fits his style. This could be a win for him and that team.
Well, it won't surprise me that much because he has been one of the best cars all year and at this track. It wouldn't surprise me, but I'm going to kind of stick with the idea that Denny Hamlin can't win a championship. So that's, I guess, the where I'm kind of coming from. But I think we should talk about the driver that's in the championship 4 that has the most likely chance to be optimal without dominating the race, and that's Martin Truex. It's because he's starting 12th. Really didn't seem like he had much speed in practice. Obviously didn't have a great qualifying session, 12th compared to 1st, 2nd, and 6th by the other 3 guys. I like Truex here from the DraftKings perspective because I know he can win this race. I know he can get out front and lead enough laps to be optimal, and he doesn't have to do that much to pay that off. Is he, in your opinion, though, the fourth of the four as far as kind of ranking them? Like, I guess in order where you think they might finish?
Out of the four, I would. With him winning, it's hard to say yes, he's the worst out of the four, but I think based on what we've seen with speed overall and them coming in to this point and having the last couple of races not really be in their favor, I think yes, but he's a former champion and they're able to be strong in some of these settings, and he's got 3 wins in the 750 horsepower package, which is tied with Larson for the most. I could really see them coming out strong, and being that they qualified 12th, a lot of place differential potential there, which allows for some really good value. I think you really want to lock him in. I'm giving him a 9.5 as my impact score.
I'm going to give him a 9.5 as well. And I was, before you mentioned, I was going to say, yeah, this style of track this year, he has 3 wins, 5 top 5s out of 8 possible races, 4th best driver rating. Hamlin would be first, Larson is second, and Elliott is 6th. So all the guys are really close on those kind of style of tracks. Man, it's also kind of surprising too that you're not a little maybe higher on Truex, because almost all year you said this is exactly what the team has been preparing.
I give him a 9.5.
I know,
I'm
but
almost on a 10. He is a cash game lock to me. He is what you're looking to build a lineup around. I don't know how.
No. I meant from just winning the championship. Yeah. You've already. I mean, I know you're a little higher on Denny, but my point is you've been really high on him at these style of tracks.
It's just because the last couple of races, the performance hasn't been as strong as we were anticipating potentially that they would be dialed in at this point. I think they're going to put up a battle. I really think it's going to be tough. We saw him last week. Really, I thought he was going to cut a tire multiple times. I don't know how he got the finish he did and was able to manage to keep Kyle Busch out of the Final Four. So we know he's gutsy. We know he knows how to get the job done. I really think he's a cash game lock in every aspect. Really a strong play. I really think that you can't go wrong.
Yeah, he was. Hopefully that team did not use up all their luck last week, because that car, I don't know how it was managed to cross the finish line 4th, and he needed almost every position to lock himself in. The last guy in the championship 4 to talk about is Chase Elliott, the defending champ. I think statistic-wise, you probably got to say he would come in, based on this year at least, the weakest of the 4 on this style of tracks, but he led a bunch of laps last week at Martinsville. Once he was locked in, we saw him kind of get booted out of the way by other guys. Likely could have won that race, so same package there. A lot of momentum kind of coming in from Martinsville. Obviously, he's got to feel confident winning this race last year, dominating this race last year. Do you think that people might be, especially from the DraftKings perspective, looking at the potential place differential from Hamlin and the place differential from Truex, and Elliott just kind of gets overlooked here? Or do you think he still gets played pretty heavily just because he's Chase Elliott?
Yeah, I think he'll carry ownership, but I think he will go a little overlooked with those 2 you just mentioned. So I think you could find some value with him on DraftKings. It's not as prevalent as some of the other sites. I really like him over on Prize Picks. I think he's a really strong play there, because where he needs to finish, to me, that's top 3, and he's easily able to do that. I think he's, if not finishing second or first, he's there battling, and it's a second to third place car typically every week whenever they're in this kind of environment and setting. So I think that he's really, in my opinion, the value will lie over there on Prize Picks, and I would go with the over.
Yeah, I'll give a 9.5 to Chase Elliott. He was my preseason pick. I think I'm going to stick by that. I think he still pulls this out. Larson does worry me a lot. I mean, really all the guys do. I mean, you really can make a case for all of them, but I think I'm going to stand by Chase Elliott, at least to win the championship. As far as the DraftKings, I mean, Larson could lead almost every lap and then have a restart late and they go at it. I mean, who knows how this thing can unfold? We've already seen some pretty crazy championship races so far. So, but for me, I'm going to just stick with my pick. I'm going to go with Chase Elliott. But when it comes to a prize pick for me that I like is actually Chase Elliott's teammate, William Byron. He starts third. I don't personally, unless he just gets out front and just has the fastest car and it's like not even close, I don't really see him getting too heavily involved up front this race. I think he's going to be respectful for the other drivers, especially his teammates. So for me, I'm actually going to go on the under on prize picks. They have him at 35.5. So that's basically he's got to finish less than fifth. And I think he'll do that. I think he'll have a good, strong finish, but I don't think he's going to be quite up that high. So for me, I'm going to go under on William Byron.
And we're going to condense this a little bit. It's late. We've really done a lot of work to try to get our race guide done and our garage thoughts put together, and all of that stuff is available in the links below. But we really want to give you all of our thoughts and everything, and that race guide really helps do that. We've got all of our impact scores in there, so if you want to take a look at all the drivers that are available, or all the drivers in the race, all the impact scores from Jeremy and I are both listed there. But we'll highlight some additional drivers we think have some value here real quick for you. Kevin Harvick, I think, really might be somebody that's going overlooked. It looked like Stuart Haas had some pretty good speed in practice and qualifying. Cole Custer was 7th in qualifying, which was mind-blowing. But he has ran fast in these style of tracks. We can give him that. He's got a win in Nashville on a mile track. Very interesting to see if him and Stuart Haas can bring some stuff to here. But Kevin Harvick, I like the over really on him in prize picks. I think we got him projected really strongly and find a really strong value over there where almost 6 positions difference on the over-under is where we're seeing. So I'm going the over. I think you landed strongly there as well.
I'm right there on the over. I think he's even playable on DraftKings, but definitely like him on the over. I think there are very few drivers in this field that would actually go for the win and potentially ruin a championship 4 drivers race. And I think that's Kevin Harvick. He hasn't won a race yet. He's had winless seasons, but it's been a long time since he's had one. So I know he's going to want to keep that streak going. I was really curious to see what kind of speed we'd get out of Stuart Haas this year, because this is the last race of this generation car. These cars mean nothing. What are the teams going to put into it? What does Stuart Haas have really to prove this year? We know they're basically bringing everyone back next year. They're ready to go. What are they going to bring to this race? Well, it looks like they've brought something. And Harvick is, 9-time winner, I believe, here at Phoenix. I mean, the dude knows how to get around this track. So whether he wins or not, I don't know. But I think he is one of the few drivers who would go up there and contend for the win, regardless of the championship 4 drivers.
Yeah, I've got a 9 on my impact score on DraftKings. I think he really does bring a lot value-wise on pretty much any slate. Another driver I think could bring some value, and again, I'm looking at prize picks first here, Christopher Bell. I'm going with the over. I think he adds strong value. The line's at 30 fantasy points. To me, over there is really achievable. I think he's very capable of getting over 33. So I really think that that's where I feel comfortable with Christopher Bell. But he's been very, very fast on 750s. He's somebody you can feel more confident in with this package. I really think that's where I'm leaning with him.
I like that play a lot, but it's not going to be one of my official plays, but I'll probably end up using it in a few different ways because he's basically got to finish 11th or better to hit that over 30 for him. I'm going to go with another guy that came into the Cup Series the same time as Christopher Bell, and that's Tyler Reddick. He's starting 20th, not showing a lot of speed. He doesn't have the best data here. They gave him a line of 29. That's his fantasy projection. That is basically 12th or worse. we know Reddick is capable of getting top tens. He's done that many times this year, but it doesn't seem like he's really done it on this style of track in this package. So I'm going to go under on Tyler Reddick. I don't really think it's going to be that close.
Yeah, and then we've seen them really be a lot stronger in the 550 horsepower package, him and his teammate Austin Dillon. But I think Austin Dillon is somebody we could look at potentially in a setting for DraftKings. I think he's got a lot of value with the qualifying position of 23rd. He's somebody that I feel comfortable with playing in that setting because really place differential is key in that setting, and we don't have a lot of place differential throughout the field, I guess, paired with a nice price tag. He offers that. I've given him an 8 as an impact score. I think you see it very similarly to me.
Yeah, I think we can definitely look at Austin Dillon because if you are playing DraftKings, you got to have more than just the 4, and you can't play all championship 4 in one lineup, so you're going to have to get different elsewhere. I'm at an 8 as well on Austin Dillon. There is some upside there. I like him better than Tyler Reddick. So, yeah, he's definitely a green play for me, if you will.
And I think somebody else that you were higher on than I, but on the slate for prize picks, Alex Bowman. He's last week's winner. He's always finicky on when to play, but he has his value points in the right setting for sure.
Alex Bowman can be very hacky at times from a DraftKings perspective. You don't know what you're going to get. It's usually by the time you've decided not to play Bowman, that's when he comes out and wins. But on these style of tracks, he has been very strong. I believe he has 2 wins on similar tracks to this style already this year. Obviously, one last week. I don't know if he's going to want to get involved with the 4 again, but if he's got a fast enough car late and it's not one of his teammates, or even if it is one of his teammates, he might still go for it. So, but from a prize picks perspective, projected score of 31.5, I think he can hit the over. We're looking at basically a top 10. I think he can do it. His stats don't look that great, but he's had great runs here, not always the best finishes. We'll see if he can improve on that this week.
And I think he's an interesting play from a DraftKings angle as well. I think really is one of my favorite plays because he can be fit in a lot of different settings. I've given him a 9.5 on an impact score from a DraftKings angle. I think you can really pair him nicely with some of these other plays. But I know there's a lot of drivers we can talk about, but somebody I think has some value. And again, Prize Picks seems to have a lot of different drivers that really stick out to me this week. And the under looks really enticing on Eric Jones because they really haven't ran very, very well or finished very well. They run fast at times, but then seem to have issues and then ultimately pan out where it's not the greatest finish, and it seems to play out that way almost every week as of late. So I'm looking at the under with him at 23.5. I really think that's pushing it because that means that he would have to get 18th? I don't think he does that.
Yeah, I don't think I'm going to end up with too much Eric Jones. It's tough because he does have some PD upside. I mean, I'm going to give him a 7 because we're kind of starved for value down in this cheaper range, so you might have to go there. But I'm not expecting a whole lot from them in this team. So I think playing the under and potentially playing him in DraftKings can still work out. Because would you say it was like a 19th place finish? So, yeah. Anyone else? I mean, there's not a lot of plays on DraftKings that I like. I'm gonna be honest. Like I'm gonna be going pretty light with DraftKings. I'll be doing heavier on Prize Picks, and I might have some singles out there. I really think that for me personally, this is a week I'm just gonna play a couple lineups and maybe a big cheap BP. Do a different combination of the championship 4 drivers, and then just a few of the guys down here because, like I said, there's not a lot. I mean, one driver I guess I could mention that I think is definitely worth playing is Bubba Wallace. 7,700, a little bit expensive, but starting 25th, I think he's got potential to be right up on that door of the top 15, and if he does that, that's going to be real nice. So I'm going to give him a 7.5. But there's, like I said, there's not a lot where I'm just like, this is a great week to play, because again, this is another one of those races. Who's really going to be going for it? No one wants to be that guy that screws up a championship driver's chance to win. It's a tough week for me to want to play DraftKings this week, but are you feeling it differently?
I will have a little bit of exposure in DraftKings, but I think I'm trying to find the value, and I think this week the value resides at Prize Picks, and the fun can be had like we typically have with DraftKings. I think you really go heavy and focus on those 4 championship drivers, because that's really where the focus is going to be across the board. So do that. Drivers like Bubba Wallace, Chris Buescher, those guys all have value. We highlight their value and impact scores in our race guide, so check that out. If you want to play on Prize Picks, use our promo code. We've got a promo code available to you for a 100% deposit match up to $100. That promo code is GARAGE. So if you want to take advantage of that, feel free to use it. This is going to be fun. There's a whole season of work that's came about, and we've wrapped up all of it. Traditional qualifying, got to see a lot of different things. Last race in this generation of car, there's a lot of stuff just all coming together. What are your thoughts headed into the race?
Just excited to see how it plays out. This is just, for me, one of those races where I kind of just really, truly will just sit back and enjoy it and see how the story ends. But for me, the biggest thing about this coming to the end of the season is this is kind of the end for us this year. From this perspective, we're not doing any other sports, at least at the moment. NASCAR takes up plenty of time already. So nothing too frequently from us for at least a little while. So the biggest thing is I just want to say thank you to everyone who has watched, who's subscribed, or give us a like along the way this season. It's really meant a lot to know that we've helped quite a few people grow their bankroll, and we've seen some nice winning tickets. Of course, that's why we started this, but to actually kind of get some of that validation is really cool. So big thank you from me and Joe. That's kind of my biggest sort of takeaway from this last race.
Absolutely, and we do appreciate your support. So if you like what you saw, definitely hit that subscribe button. But we truly enjoyed this season. It was a lot of fun, a great learning experience for us both. We got to learn a lot of different things, and we're excited that it's all getting wrapped up. But we truly appreciate your support and are looking forward to this race. But for the DK Garage, I'm Joe, that's Jeremy, and we'll see you next time.